So how do we declare a function in JavaScript? Let's take a look. Declaring a function in JavaScript is not very difficult. It starts out with a function name, with the word function, and then the function name. Declaring a function in JavaScript isn't all that difficult. We start out with the word function, all lowercase, and then we have the function name. The function name can be anything you want, but it should be descriptive of what the function does. And then following that, in parentheses, we have the parameters. Those are optional, but in order to get data from the outside into the function in a reliable, meaningful way, we want to use parameters wherever possible. Then we start with an opening curly brace, and inside those curly braces, we are going to write our function code, and probably at the very last line of that function code, if we're going to return results, is our return statement. So we'll return and then whatever variable we'd like to return. And of course, at the end of that function, we have the closing curly brace to make sure that we close that line of code. Here's an example of declaring a function. Okay, so if I have a function called addNum that adds those numbers together, it's the same one we've been discussing, and it takes int a and int b, two integers, as arguments. Then it's going to have the first line of code, which adds those together and puts them into a variable called int result. And then I'm returning the value of int result back to my main program. And then, of course, the closing brace. So here are the parts. The addNum is the function name. Notice the use of camel case, which is when we capitalize new words or new terms in a name but leave out spaces. This is a popular programming convention, and it's one that's kind of nice to use. It makes variable names a little bit more readable. We have int a and int b as the function parameters. They're two integers. And then we have int result, which is where we are putting the math, the results of the math equation, the very simple equation of adding int a and int b. Then finally, we have the return statement where we return int result back to the main program. Let's take a look at this in an actual coding scenario so we can get a feel for how this works. Okay, so if I go here to my script and I want to create a very simple, very simple function. Let's try it. Let's try function, and let's say hello. And inside this, I'm going to, actually, let's not take any parameters just yet. So there's my curly braces, and you can see that my IDE adds the no usages to signify that I have not used this function yet. Of course not, I haven't finished writing the function yet. But when I do this, I want it to pop up an alert that says hello, and that's my whole function. So how about we just call the function and see how it goes. Say hello, and if I save that and I try it out in my built-in preview here, you can see there's my alert that says hello. Now it runs that function immediately because this line of code is just in my main program. So as soon as it gets to it, it's going to run that code. It's not attached to an event or anything like that. So we've made it very straightforward here. Let's try the add numbers code, and we'll see how that works. Okay, so we're going to say, change the name here to add num, and we're going to say int a and int b. Okay, and so the lines of code that went with that were int result equals int a plus int b, and then we're going to return int result. Okay, so if I want to call that, I'm going to type add num, which is the name of the function, and I'm going to type 3, 8, which will be the two numbers that I want to add together. Now, notice this just returns that result. So if I want to actually see a result from this program, I can do something like alert, which will send that result to an alert. So let's try that, save it and run it, and there's the number 11. We know it's working. Okay, so now that we've tried it with an alert, let's take a look at how we can show this function or the results of this function in a div. So I'm going to add a div here, a reference to a div, and if I preview this, we're looking at this white div right here. You don't need to worry too much about what's going on over here because I'm going to save that for a little bit later. But on this side here, that is now targeted in JavaScript using the variable rdiv, and in the HTML, the ID is resdiv or resultsdiv. So rdiv is what I'm going to use, and I'm going to set the inner text to the result of this function. So the easiest way to do that is to say rdiv dot inner text equals, and then we're going to call the function, and we will give it a couple of numbers here. Let's just pick some random ones. And if I save that, you can see again the result is immediate here because I'm calling that from my main code.